G'day legends, I hope that you're doing well. Now someone pointed out, and I think it's very funny, that if you put translation on like the subtitles, when I say G'day legends, like Australian hello, it says ghetto legends. So I thought that was pretty funny, it gave me a bit of a laugh. Anyway, today was another slow day of territorial movement, but we know heavy fighting continues in central Bakhmut through Mariinka, and Russian aircraft are bombarding Avdiivka. Before we have a look at the maps, we will talk about how the US Secretary of State Antony Blinken has called all American citizens to leave Russia after a journalist was arrested for espionage, how NATO has again expanded, and an update from the UK Ministry of Defence. So let's look at this MOD update from the UK. So, Russian media reporting suggests the authorities are preparing to start a major military recruitment campaign with the aim of signing up an additional 400,000 troops. Russia is presenting the campaign as a drive for volunteer professional personnel rather than a new mandatory mobilisation. There is a realistic possibility that in this practice, the distinction will be blurred, and the regional authorities will try to meet their allocated recruitment targets through coercing men to join up. Russian authorities have likely selected a supposedly volunteer model to meet their personnel shortfall in order to minimise domestic dissent. It is highly unlikely that the campaign will attract 400,000 genuine volunteers. However, rebuilding Russia's combat power in Ukraine will require more than just personnel. Russia needs more munitions and military equipment supplies that is currently available, and we will talk about these in a little bit as well. Although a lot of people are saying Russia does do a huge recruitment drive every year about this time of year. So they're saying it's not that special, but although these numbers are unprecedented for just a normal year. But we're going to look at the maps and then compare them from the Russian Rybar maps and the Western Deep State and ISW as well. And these maps have only just come out just under an hour ago today. Now, where you are may say the 31st, but I'll say 30th here because the US is behind in a lot of things, especially time. Anyway, so in the center, we have Ukraine, the capital of Kyiv. Of course, in the red, areas occupied by Russia since 22 and purple since 14. The green being areas that Ukraine has cleared from Russian occupation. We've got Romania, Poland, Belarus, and Russia around here, with this being Crimea at the bottom. So what we're going to do is first go into Bakhmut and see what has changed, because Rybar are making some big claims, and a lot of the Russian forces are making claims about the south. So today is the 30th or 31st, depending where you are. So we'll go back a day, back 2 days, and we haven't really seen any major shifts except on the south edge, which we will show in a second. So they're saying that they've pushed just a little bit across to this second road. Now, if we look on the Rybar map, which is this one, if we minimize that and this, you can see that it's said they've pushed a lot further up into here. So if we take, for instance, this square block here, which is indicated by, I believe, this square block, we can see that it's sort of saying it's cutting halfway through here and down into here. So they are fairly similar, but it does show that on the western side of the Mutka River, which is in this region here, that is saying they've pushed a fair bit further across. So this is the main bridge here that has been taken down, but they're saying that from here up in through here, see where this splits into two, which is indicated here, has been pushed up, and the Russian forces are in more the center of Bakhmut. What is left of Bakhmut under Ukrainian control is in the realm of about 30%, although we do know that there are other reasons why, this area is being held, whether it be tactical, strategic, or I've even heard some claims from very Russian sources, like on the propaganda side, saying that they've recently found a tunnel from here to Chasiv Yar, but don't quote me on that at all. I think it's bullshit as well. But we'll look on the ISW in a second. Just want to have a look and see what else is looking the same or maybe different. So the big thing we look at are these lakes, these water basins, as some level of something on the ground to get an idea of. So on this one just to the northwest, Russia's saying it's to the edge here, which is pretty similar. They're saying they're right up to the edge of this road of Kromove, although we know this road is still existent. Up into Orokogo, Vasilivka, it is saying fairly similar around. And if we look at this other base near the top, that Russia is on this side, on the eastern side of that and the eastern side of the next one, which is also being shown on the deep state as well. So it is fairly similar. Let's just have a look on the ISW and see if there's any major shifts. So if we go Bakhmut here, do with me 1 second while we get across. Here we go. So it is showing fairly similar here, and fairly similar as we saw yesterday. Maybe with some less ground on the east side of the Bakhmutka River. See where Russia would say they're more across in this bit, but give or take, it is very close. If we just have a look at this area on this, it is very similar as well. And of course, the situation here is absolutely worsening, but we are not seeing huge territorial gains represented on any of the maps as far as, things falling. And we know that Bakhmut is being used somewhat by both sides to wear down a number of forces. Now, let's go down into Avdiivka and look and see if we've seen any difference between yesterday and today. Not really. So what we have seen over the past 48 hours is this area just to the southwest be cleared by the Ukrainian forces. Let's see if this has updated on the Rybar. So what we looked at last time was these 3 lakes or basins, and let's see if we can see them on the map. So it is saying that it's hard to see. So I'm not really willing to make a call on if we're actually seeing, but I think this is the 3rd basin that we talk of. So there's 1 and 2 running, so these would be these, and then so they're not saying that the Russians are, Rybar is saying the Russians are more down here, which would represent on the 28th, but no real difference. But in Avdiivka itself, this Kamyanka, I think I reported yesterday that Russia's claiming it's completely under control. This hasn't been shown on this map as completely under Russian control. Well, you can see how far the front line is, and of course in this grey zone, where Rybar is showing that it is completely under control. And if we look at these 4 basins along here, Russia is saying that they are more in the center of this one. We do see that on the Rybar, the Russians are saying in the north, they have pushed further west than here as well. But again, fairly similar. So what we'll just do is we'll just duck down to this region on the ISW. Now, you will notice that I'm not using the live UA map, because if you look at the live UA map and in Avdiivka, I believe that it is completely false, because none of the Russian maps, even the most propagandary type maps, are showing the gains in Avdiivka that the live UA map is showing, which is very funny because the live UA tends to be very pro-Ukraine, very conservative to any Russian gain. So let's have a look and see. So it is showing these 3 basins here, and this is showing very similar to what the deep state is showing in this region here. And to the north, it is showing very similar as well, with a lot more, though, claimed Russian control taking over Stepove as well, which is here. So similar, but small differences can make a big outcome in the picture. But that will be the end of our mapping today, and we'll talk about some news. Now, both Ukraine and Russia are both countries with a low freedom of press on the index. Now, out of a possible 180 countries, with North Korea at 180, unsurprisingly, and Norway at number 1, Ukraine ranks 106th and Russia at 155th. I myself have been targeted and labelled as an information terrorist from a Ukrainian government account. And I've also been denied any press accreditations in Russia as well. So I guess if both sides hate you, maybe you're in the middle doing some good work. I don't know, you can tell me. But today we saw a Wall Street Journal journalist has been arrested in Russia for allegedly spying. The FSB has said it has arrested Gershkovich in the Urals industrial city of Yekaterinburg, suspected of spying in the interests of the American government by collecting information on one of the enterprises for Russia's military industrial complex. It's being reported in a lot of areas. He was digging into some areas where Wagner gets some equipment, but that is only speculation. Gershkovich has the proper press accreditations to work as a journalist within Russia, and the Russian ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova has said that Russia would grant the US consular access to him, adding the case against him would be made public. Now, espionage under Russian law can be punishable by up to 20 years in jail. From the Wall Street Journal. The Wall Street Journal vehemently denies allegations from the FSB and seeks immediate release of our trusted and dedicated reporter, Ivan Gershkovich. We stand in solidarity with Ivan and his family. Now, US Secretary of State Antony Blinken has said in the strongest possible terms, we condemn the Kremlin's continued attempts to intimidate, repress, and punish journalists in a civil society voices. Now, it is absolutely most likely that Gershkovich was doing his job and just digging into places where Russia does not want exposed and shared. As we have seen Russia limit media from the outside, and only today is being reported they're going to bring in Chinese specialists to shut down things like VPNs and further access to YouTube. But that said, it is well known that intelligence agencies love to use journalists and have used journalists throughout many conflicts. And trust me, this war is no different. Also, on NATO expansion, well, Finland today will become the 31st member of NATO after Turkey's parliament has voted to approve its application. Now, Turkey had delayed Finland's bid to join NATO for a few months, and Sweden, which applied at the same time to join, is still being held up by Turkey. And it will still take a few weeks for this to come into effect at the next NATO summit, but we will see that they'll definitely go through. So Russia has now gained a large chunk of new direct border with NATO. So if NATO expansion was Russia's battle in this, well, that has failed. Although Finland did have a number of protection treaties and trade with the West and a neutrality one with Russia, well, until now. Although there is still disputed land between Russia and Finland. Now, Finland has had a long and bloody history with Russia, only declaring independence in 1917. I've visited Finland actually on independence in 2017 and crossed into 2018 through New Year's. And if you're ever in a position to visit, it is an amazing place with amazing people. BBC is reporting that US National Security spokesperson John Kirby has said, "We also understand that Russia is seeking to send a delegation in North Korea and that Russia is offering North Korea food in exchange for munitions, as we have seen North Korea go through many famines over the past decades. The US has accused North Korea of supplying arms to Russia before, but Pyongyang has denied any of these claims." Now, the deal was allegedly brokered by Slovakian arms dealer Ashot Miktojev, now being sanctioned. Now he is sanctioned and blacklisted by the Biden administration. Satellite imagery from South Korean authorities shows that North Korea produced 180,000 tons less food in 2022 than it did in 2021. And we know the people there are already absolutely going through a famine under this evil dictatorship. Now, North Korea is a bit of a meme when it comes to military power. That said, they have a hell of a lot of basic equipment from the Soviet times and basically a full slave labor force under a dictator to build things, especially with so much Chinese influence. And they also share a small border with Russia in the far northeast, although it is very mountainous in this area. So some people are saying it would be shipped across to Russia if anything was supplied, but we are unsure. But that's it for today. I hope you guys are looking after yourself. I hope you're having a great day and leading into even a better weekend. So look after yourselves, and I look forward to speaking with you guys tomorrow. Okay, bye-bye.